June 2024, Nairobi, Kenya. Tens of thousands of young Kenyans are flooding the streets. Their phones are raised, and the videos they're recording are being uploaded in real time. The hashtags are trending worldwide. They are protesting a tax bill, but what they are really protesting is something much bigger: a government they do not trust, a future they're not sure they have, and a political class they believe has failed them. What happened next stunned the world. A Gen Z movement, organized largely through social media, forced one of Africa's most powerful governments to back down. And then, a year later, they did it again. This is the story of Kenya's hashtag Ruto Must Go movement and what it tells us about the power and limits of digital protest. To understand why this movement happened the way it did, you need to understand what Kenya looked like in 2024. Kenya is a nation of over 58 million people, and more than half are under the age of 24. And that young population is increasingly connected, with the vast majority of young Kenyans owning a mobile phone. But connection and opportunity are not always the same thing, as youth unemployment remained relatively high. Also inhibiting opportunity, Kenya ranks high in global corruption, with only 38% of Kenyan adults saying they trust the government to do the right thing. This is the landscape that greeted Kenyan Gen Z youth in 2024: a government with deep credibility problems, an economy squeezing the middle class, and a digital infrastructure that allowed young people to organize, communicate, and document what they were seeing. All they needed was a spark. In May 2024, the Kenyan government introduced legislation that would change everything. The Finance Bill of 2024 proposed one of the largest single tax increases in Kenya's history. It proposed 2.7 billion USD in additional government revenue. This would be drawn from goods and everyday services like bread, cooking oil, sanitary products, the things that Kenyan families needed. The government argued the revenue was necessary to manage the national debt and fund public services. Critics, and there were many, argued it would devastate poor and middle class households who were already struggling. Kenyan youth, particularly Gen Z, did not accept the bill quietly. They took to social media. On X, formerly Twitter, the debate was immediate and fierce. On TikTok, young Kenyans explained the bill's provisions in plain language, breaking down what each new tax would cost ordinary families. Videos circulating showing the fine print on legislation. Infographics spread. The outrage was real, but it was also organized. In 2024, the number of young Kenyans using social media for news increased dramatically. YouTube and TikTok became the primary sources of information about current events for Kenyan youth, not television, not newspapers. The finance bill gave those platforms a cause. Hashtags like hashtag reject finance bill 2024 and hashtag occupy parliament began trending nationally. What started as online outrage was about to become something much louder. Protests began on June 18, 2024 in Nairobi. They were peaceful, largely leaderless, largely Gen Z, and largely organized through the digital infrastructure they've been building for weeks. The Kenyan Constitution guarantees the right to demonstrate, and these protesters were exercising it. The state's response, though, was not peaceful. In the first weeks of protests, Kenyan police deployed tear gas, live rounds, and physical force against demonstrators. The Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights documented what followed: 39 Kenyans killed and 361 injured between June 18th and July 1st alone. 32 people were forcibly disappeared. 627 protesters were arrested. The government also went after protests digitally. Coinciding with the state violence and Parliament's passage of the Finance Bill on June 25th, internet connectivity across Kenya dropped significantly. Internet providers cited an outage in undersea cables, but digital rights organizations disputed the explanation, pointing to suspicious timing. Protesters stormed Parliament on June 25th following the bill's passage. The images went around the world. President William Ruto, faced with the scale of the unrest, declined to sign the finance bill and announced its withdrawal the following day, June 26th. He also committed to cuts in the government spending. But the protests did not stop there. The finance bill was gone, but the grievances that had been building for years were not. Demonstrators began calling directly for Ruto's resignation. Protests spread to 19 counties, urban and rural alike. On July 5th, Ruto attempted a direct dialogue with Gen Z protesters through X Spaces, a live audio feature on the platform. The session reached hundreds of thousands of participants as the president spoke. Kenyan users made the word traitor trend on the platform in real time. On July 11th, Ruto dissolved his cabinet, keeping only two members. Police fired tear gas at protesters who had gathered outside the swearing-in ceremony of the new cabinet. Smaller demonstrations continued in August honoring those killed, but the massive protests of June and July had subsided. Ruto remained in office, and for many Kenyans, the unfinished business would not stay quiet for long. In June 2025, a Kenyan blogger named Albert Ojwang was arrested for a post on X that criticized high-ranking member of the police. While in police custody, Ojwang died. Police initially reported his death as self-inflicted, but an independent investigation ruled that out entirely. Protests erupted in Kenya on June 9th, 2025. The hashtags were different, but the generation driving demonstrations was the same. Kenya police responded again with force. This time, the government's response went further than physical repression. Amnesty International documented a coordinated digital campaign against protesters. Online intimidation of individuals involved in the demonstrations, state-sponsored trolling, and the deliberate spread of misinformation designed to amplify pro-government messaging and delegitimize the protests. The tools of protest, social media platforms, viral documentation, real-time coordination, were all being used against the protesters themselves now. The same digital infrastructure that had made the 2024 movement possible was now being weaponized by the state. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights called for a formal investigation into the violations committed by the Kenyan government against protesters. By 2025, the large-scale demonstrations had again dissipated. As of early 2026, President William Ruto remains in office. The Kenyan story is one of the clearest illustrations in recent history of both the power and the vulnerability of digitally organized protest. The platforms that made the movement possible were X and TikTok, used for protest logistics, real-time documentation, and mass education of Kenyans about the finance bill's details. WhatsApp coordinated on-the-ground activity, and Facebook distributed messaging to broader audiences. Together, these tools helped a largely leaderless generation organize at national scale within weeks. But those same tools had weaknesses the state was willing to exploit. Internet throttling disrupted communications at critical moments, and digital rights organizations questioned the timings of these disruptions. And in 2025, state-sponsored misinformation and online intimidation showed that governments are learning from these social movements and developing digital counter-strategies. The protesters succeeded in forcing the withdrawal of the finance bill. They forced a cabinet dissolution. They drew international scrutiny to human rights abuses. These are not small things, but Ruto remains in power. Accountability for those killed remains elusive, and the conditions that drove young Kenyans to the streets have not fundamentally changed. Kenya's #RutoMustGo movement did not finish what it started, but it demonstrated something that governments around the world were beginning to understand: that a generation connected by smartphones, fluent in social media, and willing to take risks was capable of applying pressure that older forms of protest never could. Kenya was not the first country to learn this lesson in 2024, and it would not be the last. Across Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas, a generation was waking up, and they were doing it online. Thanks for watching. Explore the full Revolution Will Be Digitized series and our interactive map of global Gen Z movements at the Aspirations Network link in the video description. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe for future releases.